part 3 of sexual reproduction in flowering plants. In part 1 and part 2, we have already discussed about what is flower, parts of flower, stamen, petals, sepals, and gynecium. And then we study about the structure of flower, structure of pollen grain, and male gametophyte. So, in this today lecture, we study about female gametophyte. Our first topic is female gametophyte. What is gametophyte? Gametophyte is a body which help to production of gametes. Means gametophyte is that structure which help in the formation of gametes, and female gametophyte help in the production of female gametes. So there are two type of spores, microspores and megaspores. In the previous lecture, microspores leads to the formation of uh, male gametes, and in the megaspore it leads to the formation of female. Out of out of four megaspores, one megaspore is functional. Out of four megaspores, one megaspore is functional and other three degenerate. In the male structure, there are four haploid microspores are produced and they form to mature to form four pollen grain. But in this, out of four megaspore, only one megaspore is functional. In pollen grain, tetrad formation is there. So in this, only one megaspore is functional, and this functional megaspore develop into a complete female gametophyte. Means, suppose I give you one condition that if a plant contains four megaspore on maturation, how many female gamete is formed? Female gamete is formed, then the answer will be only one megaspore is functional, so one female gametophyte will be formed. Female gametophyte is known as embryo sac also, and the development of embryo sac from single megaspore is known as monosporic. Mono means single, sporic means spore production. Means if a embryo sac develop from a single megaspore, then this type of formation is known as monosporic. Now next, the division take place in the formation of megaspore. The division is known as mitotic division. In the +1 class in cell cycle and cell division, we have already studied about mitotic and meiotic. Mitotic division is equational division and meiotic division is reductional division. So in this, mitotic division take place. Mitotic division is known as equational division because the number of chromosome remains the same after division. So after mitotic division, it will lead to formation of two nuclei. Two nuclei stage is formed, and these nuclei move towards opposite pole, and this structure is known as two nucleated embryo cell. Two nucleated means having the two nucleus. Now there is again a mitotic division take place, then the formation of four nucleate stage take place. Means if single cell is divided through mitotic division, then it will lead to formation of two nucleus, and then again division take place, then 2 into divided into 4, and next if again a division take place, 4 will lead to the formation of 8. So in this, all the mitotic division are free nuclear type. Note down, in this only nucleus division take place, cytokinesis not take place. Karyokinesis, kinesis means division, karyo means related with the nucleus. So in this female gametophyte formation, only nucleus division is take place, but no cytoplasm will be divided. Only karyokinesis take place. Note down, important point. In the next slide, yes, this is the structure. Here you can see this is megaspore mother cell. Same in the pollen grain, this is the same structure is present known as microspore mother cell, but in the female it is megaspore mother cell. So in the first division it will lead to formation of dyad, that is megaspore dyad. Then it again divide to form megaspore tetrad. This in the box, yes, this one. So megaspore mother cell divide to form a two cell state, and then again the cell will divide to form a megaspore tetrad. Out of three, one is functional. Out of three, one is functional. So in this you can see this one below, yes, this two nucleus get divided. No cytoplasm division take place. Again mitotic division take place. Four nucleate state. This one I am showing with this arrow, black arrow. Then again mitotic division take place. 4 will be divided into 8. Will be divided into 8 here. This 8 nucleus get align themselves according to their function or according to their orientation. 3 get aligned to form egg apparatus. This one I am showing here with the box. In the box, this is a complete egg apparatus containing one egg and two synergid. Synergid is present periphery to the egg, and 3 will move just opposite to form this one antipodal cells, and 2 will align at the center. They are known as polar nuclei. When the embryo sac mature, it will appear just like this. Just like this. It contains two end chalazaland and micropyle end. Chalazaland contain 3 cell combined 3 cell antibodal, and in the micropyle end there is egg apparatus present. Egg apparatus formed of two synergid and one egg cell, and two polar nuclei combined to form central cell. So this condition is known as 8 nucleate and 7 celled state. 8 nucleate means 3 nucleus in the antibodal cell, 3 nucleus in the egg apparatus structure, and 2 nucleus in the polar area. So it contains 8 nucleus, but it contains 7 celled structure. Now I have already discussed about the sexual reproduction. The sexual reproduction consists of three main phases, or it may be divided into three main stages. First is pre-fertilization, then fertilization, then post-fertilization. Pre-fertilization are those events which are present just before fertilization. Pre-fertilizations are those events which are present just before fertilization. Got it? So just before fertilization there are main two events, gametogenesis and gamete transfer. Got it? So in gametogenesis in plants we studied about the formation of pollen grain and the maturation of pollen grain and the female gametophyte and the male gametophyte. Now next event is transfer of gametes. Gametogenesis is the first step of pre-fertilization. In the second step of pre-fertilization, the gametes are transferred. In plants, the gametes are transferred by the help of various agents. Got it? In plants, two type of gametes are present, male gametes and female gametes. Male gametes are produced in anther and female gametes are present in the region gynoecium. So, the transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma is known as pollination. So, pollination is the process, note down, pollination is the process used by plants for the transfer of their gametes. Got it? Because the gametes are immotile, means the gametes cannot move, immobile. The gametes are immobile. So they require various agents, and the transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma is known as pollination. Pollen grains are immobile, already discussed. And now what are the types of pollination? There are two types of pollination, self pollination and cross pollination. In the 10th class we have already discussed about this topic in detail. So first is self pollination. Self means same. Self means same. So the definition will remain the same. The transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma, the changes are in this only dark color area. The transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of either the same flower or genetically similar flower. Self means the transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma of same flower or genetically similar flower. It is of two types. Self pollination is of two types. First one is autogamy and second is geitonogamy. Auto means self. Auto means self. Gamy means fusion or marriage. So in autogamy, self marriage take place. Self marriage take place means the pollen grain from a same flower, means if a plant contain different flower, so the pollen grain from the same flower lands on the stigma of that same flower of same plant. Got it? So autogamy is preferred in perfect flower. In the first lecture of this chapter 2, we have studied about the perfect flower. Perfect flowers are those which contain all the essential part. All the essential part means perfect flowers are those which contain sepal, petals, androecium and gynoecium. So if the flower contain both androecium and gynoecium, so they have the capacity to having the self-pollination autogamy process. And on the basis of opening or closing, there are two types of flower, chesmogamous and clistogamous. Chesmogamous flowers are those, you can note down, chesmogamous flowers are those which are open, whereas clistogamous flowers are those which are closed. Closed means the androecium and gynoecium, means anther and the stigma is enclosed. It does not have any contact with external environment. So chesmogamous flowers are those which are open, whereas clistogamous are closed flower. Examples are chesmogamous, example is mirabilis, and clistogamous, example is oxalis and viola. Next. Now, geitonogamy. Geitonogamy means neighbor marriage. In the previous slide, self marriage, and in geitonogamy it is known as neighbor marriage. Definition starts from the same line, transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of another flower, this one I am underlying, of another flower belonging to either the same plant or genetically similar plant. Means this one, let's suppose this is a plant, this one is flower F1, This one is flower F1 here. This one is flower F2. Got it? The flower are born on the same plant, means flower are present on same plant. So the pollen grain transfer from this flower to this here. So it is a type of geitonogamy. It is a type of geitonogamy, means the transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma of another flower belonging to the either the same plant. This one, this here, this is the same plant. This is the mechanism of geitonogamy. Next, cross pollination. Next is cross pollination. I'm trying to draw this one, this one. This one is plant P1, means this is first plant here. This is second plant. There are two different plant are there. So the transfer of pollen grain from one plant to this. This is known as cross pollination. One flower to the genetically different flower. They are genetically different plants, so the flower will be genetically different. Genetically different means their genes, their genetic makeup is different. So how the pollination take place? There are two type of pollination, self-help and cross pollination. So how the pollination will take place? What is the mechanism behind the pollination? There are two type of agents that are help in the transfer of pollen grain: the biotic agent and the abiotic agent. Biotic agents are living and abiotic are non-living. Biotic agents are living in nature and abiotic agents are non-living in nature. So in environment, the insects are the biotic agent. Means if a insect sit on the flower, sit on one flower, and when the insect fly to another flower, it help to transfer of pollen grain. So it is a mechanism in which biotic agent is used. But when the air or when the water help in the transfer of pollen grain, then it is a abiotic agent. Next, now these are the types of pollination. Very interesting topic and very important topic. Type of pollination on the basis of agents. On the basis of agents. First is anemophily. In anemophily, wind wind is used as a pollination agent. So the pollination by the wind is known as anemophily. So what are the various characteristics that would be preferred by the plants to be anemophilous? Means if a plant transfer the pollen grain with the help of air, so what are the various property it will have? So first, plant produce large amount of pollen grain. The transfer of pollen grain with the help of air. So the number of pollen grain production is also high, because through air currents some pollen grains are waste. Some pollen grain are waste. So the plant will have to produce more number of pollen grain so that it can land on stigma. Next, flower should have exposed stamen. Exposed stamen means the stamen should be in the air. So when the air current flows, then the pollen grain also transfer with the air also. Next, stigma should be large in size. Large in size means stigma is the landing platform. If the landing platform is large in size, means if the area of the landing platform is large, this one, so the chances of pollen grain landing on that site will be more. If the stigma is small in area, so the chances of landing of pollen grain will be less. So the stigma should be have large area, and so that it can trap the pollen grain from air. Next example, corn cob. Corn cob is the plant in which air pollination can be visualized. Next, pollen grain are light. If the pollen grain are light in weight, so air can easily transport the pollen grain. Pollen grain are light in weight, so air can be easily used for the transfer. And the pollen grain should be non-sticky, so that it can be easily transferred from one place to, or from one flower to another flower with the air. Next, now the next type of agent is water. So when the pollen grain are transferred with the help of water, then this is known as hydrophily. The example of hydrophily plants are Vallisneria, Hydrilla, and Justra. These are three aquatic plants. Note down. Water is used as a pollination agent in the plants that are aquatic in nature. Aquatic means the plant that lives in water. Means the plant that lives in water are known as aquatic plant. So the pollination by the water will only take place in the plant that are aquatic. Means जो water में रहेगा वहां पे ही pollination water से होगी. Third point, all aquatic plants are not hydrophilic. Suppose 100 aquatic plants, suppose 100 plants lives in water, so it is not necessary that all the plants will show hydrophily. Next, fourth, pollen grains are released into the surface of water. Means pollen grains are released in the water, and through water it is transferred. Sometimes air can also be used. If air flow, then the water will also flow, so it will help to carry the pollen grain from one place to another place. Whereas when the plant is completely submerged means the plant is present deep inside the water. So water is the exclusive mode, means only water transfer the pollen grain. Now, what are the feature of pollen grain? Pollen grain should be long. Pollen grain should be ribbon-like. If the pollen grain if the pollen grain is long in size, means if it is a thread-like structure, so the water can easily transfer the thread-like structure, and the resistance will be very less. Pollen grain be should be covered by a covering known as mucilage covering, so that mucilage help in the protection of pollen grain from wetting. Wetting means pollen grain will not wet, गीला नहीं होगा वो, क्योंकि उसके ऊपर mucilage का covering होगा. Next, pollination by biotic agents. In the previous two slides, we have studied about the pollination by non-living thing. Non-living means water and air. In this, the biotic agent is used. Biotic means living agent is used. So animal act as a pollinating agent. Main animals are insects and bees. Insects visit one flower, then move to another flower. So when the insect land on one flower, it will get nectar from the flower. Means insect get nectar. Nectar means food from the flower, but when it fly, it also has some pollen grain on its wings. So from one area to next area, the pollen grain are transferred with the help of insects and bees. So what are the various characteristics of these plants? So if a plant favor insect pollination, so flower should be, means the plant flower should be large in size, colorful. Colorful flower attract insects. Colorful flower attract insects. And plant should have fragrance. Fragrance also attract the insect. And flower should have a nectar. Nectar means honey-like substance, liquid substance, so that the insect will attract towards the nectar. Sometimes flower also have some smell, or you can say foul fragrance also. Next point, nectar and pollen grain are usual floral reward for insect. Last year question, last year board question, ki benefits what are the benefits that an insect can take from flower? So insect take nectar and pollen grain from flower. Got it? Sometime insect also lays egg. Insect lays egg in the flower, in the area inside the flower. It will lay some egg. A unique example given here, last second point. A species of moth. Moth is just like you can say animal or an insect. Moth is an insect and yucca is a plant. Both moth and yucca plant are dependent on each other. Why they are dependent on each other? Moth means insect, deposit its egg in the ovary, whereas flower get pollinated with the help of insect. Means insect lays egg in the ovary, and insect also transfer the pollen grain from one flower to another flower. So they are mutually dependent. Mutually dependent means they are interdependent. Insect lays egg, and insect also transfer the pollen grain. Next, many insect consume pollen or nectar. Means sometime when the insect lay on the flower, it get the nectar and pollen grain, but it does not transfer the pollen grain from one flower to another flower. Got it? So the pollination will not take place. So these visitors are known as pollen और nectar robbers. Robbers means जो चुराते हैं, ठीक है? तो जो वो insects होंगे वो उन्हें हम robbers बोलेंगे, जिन्होंने pollen grain को और nectar को ले लिया है लेकिन pollen grain को transfer नहीं किया है. So this is all about in today lecture, the pollination, the type of pollination or the gametophyte. Thank you.